Let's go.
Yo, what is up, guys? Trading Card Investor here with my boy Keith, aka King of Cards, back for episode number 3.
I know, 3 already?
Episode number 3 of Cleveland Cards Podcast. How you doing today, Keith? How you feeling?
Dude, I'm super good. Super great, man. I can't complain.
Man, what a great weekend we just had, going to a couple shows out in Hartsville and Strongsville.
The
hobby is alive.
Very well alive. It is, dude, the amount of people I've seen at Strongsville, I was like, oh my god.
Shoulder to shoulder for the entire show.
You couldn't even get in some tables. Like, you literally just had to walk past and be like, alright, I'll come back maybe.
I mean, if that's not a sign of the hobby growing continuously, I don't know what is, man, because that show was packed out.
Dude, with the kids, with the moms bringing the kids, the deals. I mean, it just literally lets you know it. And if you guys want to check out, we're gonna have the video coming out pretty soon for the Strongsville card show. Check that video out, man. Lots of deals. Robert set up a table. You know, he sold this time, and I mean, it was packed. It was literally insane.
It was packed. And speaking of deals and like selling stuff, man, card prices are going up because the hobby is booming. I was selling stuff for 80-90% pretty consistently the whole show. So
and I mean, people weren't complaining. They were looking up comps, and I gotta give mad props to Robert though, because I don't know how he does it, man. He's quick with math and like good and know
the numbers.
Well, and you know your prices too, which helps a lot, because 90% of the people, when you go to a table, you want to buy something, like, hold on, let me look up comps. Or you want to look up comps, and it just, dude, I noticed that was like one of my things. I'm like, man, it's taking too long. You know, I just want to. But when you know quick and you could just shoot out a price and telling people the comp.
I mean, that's the thing. I comp everything the day, like right before the show, I go to it. And I think that's almost essential. And that's what people don't do because they have too much inventory scattered all over the place. True. But I check right before I, go into a show. I'm looking, what is it going for? What are the last comps at? And I'm honest with people, you know what I mean? And knowing that, like you said, makes the process quicker. It makes me honestly get more deals done. So
and people feel like you genuinely are giving them a deal, because I've seen you give people like, hey, this is the last comp, but I'll give you $20-$30 below that. And I mean, there's not a lot. Like, a guy had a Genesis Tom Brady, and I'm like, yo, how much? He's like, oh, the card market, it's down. That Tom Brady's down, and the last comp was 150, wanted 200, and I'm like, no, I can't. I mean, I get it. The thing is,
if you want over comps, don't bring the item to the show, because you're not going to sell cards for over comps. That's just the reality of the market. And there's going to be the old timers that are going to say, "Oh, it doesn't determine value," or this one bad comp. Listen, if you want to be the guy that sits on your cards, or if you want to be that mentality of like, "Oh, I'll sit on it," that's fine. Then you're going to be holding the card. But if you want to be active in this game of trading, buying, selling, you got to know the comp. You got to know that it's not going to sell fully for the comp. And you got to know your prices and how to source it cheaper.
Yeah, and the guy really, you could tell he didn't want to get rid of it, which I get it, but I'm like, buddy, I can't give you over comp. You know what I mean? And the other thing I noticed that a lot of, or actually, it's on the Facebook group we're in, somebody commented and said, dude, we should not be having all these kids wanting to trade, because it's taking up, like, they're sitting in front of your table for a real long time, they're trying to trade. The guy was like, these kids should bring money and buy at shows, not trade. How do you feel about that? Like, come on.
See, so like I do understand the frustration of not being able to see someone's table. Honestly, the thing that's super frustrating is when someone wants to make a deal and they're super indecisive. So they're sitting in front of my table for 5-10 minutes thinking about the same deal. Honestly, at that point, I would rather not do the deal if it means you move and more people can look at my table, because that's sales out of my pocket.
Yeah,
you know what
100%.
I mean?
So it's like 50-50 on, like, if you could do it, you're like, all right, come on, let's get this trade done. But if you're going to sit there for 30 minutes and I lose money by people walking away,
right.
So I kind of felt the guy's comment, but it is a card show. We buy, sell, trade at a card show too.
Exactly. So. It's like people are going to trade. My thing is if you're coming up and you're trading, like, know your prices and know your values. Don't have to sit there and comp your own stuff at the table. True. Like, you got to be ready to wheel and deal if you're going to try and make that move. Because like I said, I don't want someone sitting in front of my table for 20 minutes either, because that's money out of my pocket, essentially.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Or, you know what they should do it before, or like the beginning of the show, it should be like trade hour.
Yeah,
You
okay.
know, like where
That's
there's
not a bad idea at all, honestly.
wouldn't
I
that be
love trade
cool?
nights. I love
Yeah.
trade events.
Or
I
like
actually
the
think that's a
last hour
really,
of the
really good
show.
idea. Yeah, that's
You
a good
know, like
idea. They should
everybody
implement that.
just switch to like, hey, you know, we'll do trades or meet up somewhere and trade. You know, having it more that way. I mean, but people are just gonna do it regardless.
I was
It's
gonna say,
hard.
and it's almost one of the elements of a show
It
that just
is.
is part of it. You know what I
It
mean? Like I
is.
do love the wheel and deal, and so like it's just part of it, and I don't mind. You know
It
what I
is,
mean?
because if you could, like, you know, bunch it together some stuff and say, hey, I got this card, you know, knock off, you know, 200 or throw
Right.
this in, it just helps deals all the way around, you know?
100%.
Like, it really does, man. It's
Dude,
really
another
dope.
thing I saw at the past shows this weekend, man, is even more PSA 9s. Man, we were talking with a couple
Oh,
dudes,
yeah.
specifically at Hartville, where one dude sent off a 20 card sub of Bowman Autos Refractors and got hit with 19 nines in
Dude,
110.
he
Could
was
you
so
imagine
mad.
that?
I would be so mad, man.
Oh
I
my gosh.
And the guy, it's baseball too. The guy
Yep.
looks over his cards. He's really, I mean, he knows what he's been doing. He's an older gentleman,
Yeah,
so
I've
he
been doing
knows
it for
what
a
he's
while.
doing, you know. And it's like, come on, man. PSA, like, oh, that's so tough, man.
What I've really noticed too is that they're most strict in the bulk subs because like a sub like that was a bulk sub. I've noticed
Right.
at that $18 level they tend to be more strict. I don't know why that is,
That is
but
weird.
it just seems because like when I send off my $30 orders, they tend to be pretty fair. I've noticed, but if anything's ever
Right.
bulk, it's like they get out that hammer and it's sevens, eights, and
Yeah.
nines all day. It's crazy.
So I heard something too at the show that the one guy made a comment. He was like, you know how like you could third party it to somebody and they send out like tons of like hundreds and
Yep.
hundreds of cards.
Yep.
That them people get better grades than like just somebody, you know, like me or you sending our submission
Right,
out.
right. That is a common rumor in the hobby. I don't know the validity of it, but
Mhm.
it does kind of make sense. I've heard pretty strongly that that's pretty true. Like
Because
that they do that for them.
didn't last year or when COVID, PSA made that announcement like, hey, these are actual dealers
Right,
that you could give your cards to and they'll send them to us
right,
instead of having, you know, 20,000 people individually sending,
right. It makes it
you
easier
know,
on PSA too, so they probably want to encourage that behavior.
true.
So I guess that makes sense. I don't really
I
like
couldn't,
giving someone else my
yeah.
stuff. You know
Because
what I
think about
mean?
how many
Like,
hands it goes through at
yeah,
that
right.
point, too. You're going through, you know, you're sending it to that person. They're looking it over. They're, you know, then putting it back. Then they're sending it to
Yep.
PSA. It's just too much for me.
At the same time, that's so frustrating the fact that you need to send it off with a service in order to get fair grades. Like you guys
That's
just can't grade the
beyond.
cards, you know what I mean? For how they
Right.
should be. It's definitely some BS within the
No, I
hobby,
know.
no
It
doubt.
makes people lean into other services. I see, you know,
Yep.
CGC and all them guys, you know.
SGC really becoming more
Beckett
popular.
just did I think Beckett's running a special now on Pokemon, I believe. They're
Okay.
giving a break on, you know, like, because obviously you got to hang with PSA. So, you know, you
And
got to
they're
run.
they're starting to do that too. I've noticed Beckett drop more specials, especially around like the
Mhm.
holiday that just happened and stuff like that. They're starting to become more reasonable. And with PSA being so strict, it's almost becoming more of a play for those higher ticket cards. You know
I
what I mean?
always like Beckett just because the shot at the black label. I
Oh,
just
yeah,
always
it
think
is
it's
sick.
so cool. And, you know, I love the subgrades. You know, it kind of gives you a little more with the subgrades, you know,
Right.
kind of
100%.
see where you're at.
Yeah, but now that we just had that Super Bowl Sunday show, football is officially
Yeah.
over, and that means that it's time for basketball, the second half of the season, and the playoffs. Man, I'm excited
Yeah.
about that.
Congrats to the Chiefs, man, taking
Yeah,
it
congrats
home.
to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But with basketball coming up and the playoffs coming up, I got a couple players that I'm investing in that I want to talk about. First off, Stephen Curry is a buy right now. I know the Warriors are out of the playoffs in the meantime, it looks like,
Hmm.
but just like last year when they were floating in the middle of the pack, they got their shit together towards the end of the year,
Right.
went on to win the championship. It's going to
It's
happen
insane.
again. Pick up Curry right now while people are forgetting about him.
Yeah, Curry, in my opinion, is just a GOAT. The kid
Yeah,
is a
no,
lethal shooter. He's one of the best shooters of all time in the NBA.
I would say the best,
His
honestly.
shot is just insane. I mean, we had LeBron pass the record.
That
That
was
was
cool.
cool watching that, being a witness of that. You know what I mean? That was really, that's a history, man. That's time in history we got to witness, man.
That was sick.
That
Speaking
was
of
so cool.
LeBron, tying in with Cleveland for the next guy I want to invest in, Darius
Yeah.
Garland.
Yeah,
What do you
I
think?
love.
What do you think of Garland as a player?
I think he's so undervalued for one, and for two, he is a monster. If
Yeah.
Buy him now while he's cheap, man. That's all I can say.
His prices were decently high last year, but it seems this year, just like everything else, kind of took a heavy tank. I think he's one of those guys where it's a good moment to buy at the prices he's at.
They're not putting respect on his man. His prices should be up there, man. Honestly,
at least another 20-30%.
Yeah,
at least.
I mean,
and then we saw Durant, huge move, go to the Suns.
Wow,
so that's two more guys that I put on my list for top 5. Durant and Devin Booker go hand in hand. Those guys are going to make a title run this year.
Yeah, that
is a wild team.
Yeah, that's going to be something to watch, man, because that's going to be crazy.
Paul on that team, DeAndre Ayton. Oh my gosh. It's unbelievable. It is Durant going to another stacked team. It kind of makes you roll your eyes a little bit like, geez, man, your championship's getting easier, but
he's getting old too, man. Sheesh.
Oh yeah.
Been in the NBA a while.
Yep, and then my last one I said was Tatum. I think Tatum's a really good buy right now. I think the Celtics are going to make a run on the way to the playoffs, and I think they might be the year where they get the chip.
I think Giannis, too, you could throw in there.
That's a really good name. It actually, that was my number 6 that I wanted. Because it's between, for me, it's kind of between like the Celtics or the Bucks for who really comes out of the East. So, like, I think the Celtics might beat the Bucks, but Giannis is a really good name to pick up for sure.
Man, dude. I feel like Luka and Giannis, man, are like the poster boys of like the NBA, and that like LeBron. I mean, Luka. I feel like I don't know, man, is like taking over. Like
it's so tough when we're really talking about investing because someone like Luka's prices are so high.
I know.
Where if he doesn't come out with a championship, can they go up? I mean, it's tough.
Right.
It's tough.
But I feel like you get a lot of people like me. I love Luka. If I can find one of his cards for a reasonable, not crazy cards, but something reasonable, I'll pick it up just because that's, who I like.
No, 100%. I think that makes sense totally. And after we get through these playoffs, we're going to kind of get in that time where football is going to be at its lowest point. That's going to be from like April to July. It's the best buying season. I want to talk about a couple of guys that I'm going to be picking up during that season. Right. First off, someone I'm already picking up is Trey Lance. I think people are forgetting, man, he was the design starter for the Niners. Yeah, Purdy came in and did his thing, but now with that Tommy John injury, I don't think that it's likely that he's going to start next year. I think Trey Lance is going to come in and run the show, and his stuff is on fire right now. It is so cheap. It's like a fire sale. I think he's going to
surprise a lot of people also because he was in the background with the Purdy situation.
Right.
And now if he gets a shot, I feel like, dude, he's going to perform.
It kind of reminds me of Burrow. When Burrow went down with that injury, people were a little skeptical. How is he going to bounce back? And then the next year came through and did his thing. Now there wasn't a quarterback fighting for a spot, so it's a little bit different, but I think Trey Lance is going to get the job.
How do you feel? Follow up with that. How do you feel with Trask filling in the shoes for Brady because Brady's not retired? Or do you think that's going to happen or no?
So I feel like I didn't put Trask on my list, but a lot of people are mentioning him for a really good investment because of that. But I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know if the kid is ready. I could really see it being realistic that the Buccaneers make a play for a veteran QB type guy to fill the shoes for this year. To just
secure it,
Right, because we don't really know anything about Kyle Trask. We haven't really seen him play much. He hasn't proven anything. So it's a wild card, and it's too uncertain for my money, especially with how much his prices have already jumped.
I know, man. I mean? People just, they get the hype. And it's that idea of, Brady's gone, Trask in. I love the gamble though. I might pick up just a few of his cards.
Right,
for
crazy,
but it's
that's the thing. If you could find good deals, it's worth it. You know what I mean? It's not a bad idea to hold it by any means. But when I'm talking about best investments, I try not to pick up those dudes that have already just had their spike because of something like Brady retiring. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. You know what I mean?
Another guy who is dirt cheap right now, Justin Herbert's prices are ridiculous. I picked up a Mosaic second-year auto for $160 at Strongsville.
That's literally insane.
What is happening, guys? The prices are way, way down on Herbert. He didn't have the best end of the year, but his coaching situation was a nightmare.
Yeah.
When he comes through with the new coaching staff, I think he's really going to light it up. I'm really excited for Justin Herbert next year for sure.
I can't wait for next year, period. I think the Browns got, I think we're going to be a competitor this year. You know what I mean? Coming up.
One name that just missed my list was Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
just missed it.
if you look at some of when Deshaun back in the day, dude, he was a monster, man. His prices
Top
too
3
were,
QB all day.
yeah.
All day.
I mean, dude, he's still got that in him. I think we really could be a contender. I think the play calling is just terrible on her. You know what I mean? And
I agree. The Cleveland play calling is a nightmare.
yeah, and the line, you know, like you need a solid line, you need good play coaching, you know, like it just all factors, you know.
100%. I'm excited for Cleveland next season, though.
So
I think we definitely got a chance. It's going to be fun. A lot more fun than this year was, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, 100%. I think that hurt us, him sitting for that long. I mean, it's like...
Jacoby did what he could, but it wasn't enough.
He actually was pretty solid, though.
He was.
You know what I mean? I wasn't mad at him.
See, that's a guy where I could see him going to, like, the Buccaneers and starting over Trask for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, something like that.
That's experience.
Exactly right.
You know.
And then another name on my list, a big one, Lamar Jackson. He's either going to get traded or franchise tagged. And from what we've seen in the hobby, any situation where a player gets a contract extension or they get traded or they get franchise tagged, their prices go up. So I think in period, Lamar is a good investment right now, especially with how low his prices are.
No, I 100% agree. 100% agree. I love him as a quarterback. I think he's so underrated.
People hate because they say he's a running back. Listen, Mike Vick was a running back too, but he's one of the greatest of all time.
But it's such a threat though, because he can throw the ball or he's gonna run it in and get that first down. I loved it, just like Hurts on that game, dude. They'll run to get that first. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Patrick Mahomes did the same thing. Ran to get that first, you know.
Yeah. Now Mahomes is definitely one of the best pocket passers of all time. So we won't put him branched in with Lamar, but Lamar in general, like people just sleep on him. He definitely has that playmaking ability, and he knows how to lead his team. So I'm really excited for where he goes next year as well.
Yeah.
And then a sleeper pick that I wanted to throw in, kind of one that's a little bit off that people have forgotten about, is Davis Mills. I think his prices are absolutely in the toilet. Of course, he didn't look good, but if you look at the talent on the Texans last year, it was the worst team in football by far. He had no supporting cast whatsoever. Besides Dameon Pierce, who is going to come back and have another good year at running back, I think they're set for him to have a better year and his prices to go up from where they're at. So I would definitely pick up some Mills.
That's a sneaky play to pick up Mills, and you know what I mean? Just hold him, man.
I mean, I even got a Mills next to me right here. Like, this is the exact perfect example of what to pick up. This is a championship ticket auto from Contenders out of 49.
And what did you give?
$80 for this card.
That's what I mean. That's so cheap.
The Hurts version of that card is $4,000. Now, obviously, Mills is nowhere near Hurts right now, but who knows where he can go? You know what I mean?
No,
people were really, really hyped by him before this last season, and people are quick to forget, man. He has some potential for sure.
Yeah, I hate that, though, with the market, man. Like, you know, when we get that fresh rookies coming up, and everybody, Mac Jones, all this one, that one, and their prices are crazy. You know, and then a few of them do bad, and then the prices tank, and it's like, man,
I think it's all about having the awareness and the knowledge of the fact that this is going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, these players are going to spike, people are going to fall into that hype, and it's also the prospecting aspect of, if this guy goes off this year, these cards are worth big money. So there is some justification behind it, but it's just being smart and knowing how to identify that and stay away from it. You know what I mean?
For example, though, Brock Purdy, his prices, I just checked them today. His prices are down
in the dirt.
I mean, come on.
And what did we say? What did we say last?
Yeah, you can look at the old podcast.
Don't touch that with a 9-foot pole, man.
Seriously.
We called that because there was nowhere else to go but down. Let's be honest.
Exactly. No, you're right.
They couldn't even go higher. The cards, they were ridiculous.
His base was doing $60. I looked at it today. $15 for the Mosaic base.
Oh, and then in a couple weeks it'll be down to $5 for sure.
Yeah, nobody's gonna. I mean, come on, man.
For a base, I mean, with how much they're printing of this stuff, no chance.
Yeah, you're goofy if you're buying that.
Yeah, and then my last QB that I want to talk about is Kenny Pickett. I think the Steelers are going to look really good next year. He looked awesome towards the end of this last season.
I hate to say
watch out for Pickett. They're going to make a run next year for sure. They're going to be a team that's going to definitely surprise
I'm sorry, Rob. I can't pick up a fucking Steelers. I'm sorry.
Man, all I see
I
is
don't care
green
how
when
much money or how much upside. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I hear you.
You're gonna be solo on that one. I'm cool.
But man, that's pretty much all I wanted to hit in this, man. Talking about the state of the hobby being awesome, PSA still being strict, and then what we're picking up basketball and football wise. Is there anything else you wanted to throw on top of that, Keith?
I mean, not really that I could think of. I mean, my play I'm making is Pokemon, vintage Pokemon. You know what I
That's a good
mean?
thing to talk about real quick right now.
Yeah,
Pokemon vintage, man. There's not a lot of Pokemon sellers in our
there's
area.
not.
So what Keith has been doing that's super smart is picking them up cheap,
Yeah.
grading them, and then starting to take them to shows to
Oh,
flip, man. Always watch out for stuff like that and pay attention because sometimes, like around us, a dude had those hollows at our show for under $5 a piece.
yeah,
So there's always money to be made, and you always want to educate yourself in every aspect. So I always
100%.
suggest taking some time, doing some research on some Pokemon, and figuring some ways to make money with that too.
That's what I love about this hobby, though, is that there's so many ways to make money in it. You just have to find one and really master it, and you could go, sky's the limit. You know what
Yeah,
I
and you
mean?
could still collect the things you love and still have a business on the side, and that's really
Yeah.
how I love to approach it. And it's a blessing, and I love
Whether it's
everything about it.
value
So
boxing. Oh, yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Went to a show, bought what was it, the Allen Iverson Hollow for
that was awesome.
$1.
The Allen Iverson Slam Hollow.
Yeah,
Yep,
Slam Hollow for $1. Put it on eBay, let it do 5 days. Literally just sold for $31.99 or something. Yeah,
unbelievable.
I'll throw the comp up on when I edit this. But yeah,
Yep.
I mean, that is just insane. You could literally go to a show, pick through dollar boxes, get lucky. Obviously, I got lucky,
Yep.
and found that in there.
But you earn it by being the one that knows what that card goes for when you see it. You know what I mean? It's all
Right.
about the hustle. You were the one that was there first. And value boxing, guys, is a great way to build some capital. I highly
love it.
suggest value boxing. It's addictive.
It
for
really
sure.
is. It got me like, let's go. Let's go to another show. Let's go.
Absolutely.
I'm ready for the
Absolutely.
up and coming shows. You know what I mean? Coming up. I think, man, it's just going to get better and better.
Man, we got some big shows coming up too. Next month we got the Chicago Spectacular. I'm
That's
booked in
huge.
for that. I think you're gonna try and
Yeah,
make
I'm
an
gonna try
appearance
to get
there as
there.
well. So
Yeah, let's
we're
get a
going with my
vlog.
dude Scott,
We're
and I
gonna
just got Charlie confirmed too. So it's gonna be a
That's
pack
fire.
out there for
That's
Chicago.
fire.
And we got a massive greenie show in April.
Yeah, that's
Hundreds
gonna
of
be
tables that we're
huge.
setting up
Jeez.
at. There's a lot on the horizon,
The
guys.
hobby is alive.
The hobby
and
is
well.
alive.
There's money in here, man. It's
Yes,
crazy.
sir. So make sure you're sticking with us for the ride.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe. Follow along with both of our contents if you